Yeah, hello traders. Welcome to another trading week. As you already know, my name is Forex Grandmaster, as I'm fondly called. And if you are new to this channel, I would advise that you don't subscribe to this channel. And the reason why this is very important is so that each time or immediately I post trade signals or market outlook like this, you get notified you get notified immediately. And also, if you find it very instrumental and very useful for your trading, you should like and share, and also comment if you have any concerns. You can raise your concerns, and then I'll try my best to address it in the group. And so, if you have been following my market outlook and all that, you should be able to see that most of the time markets do go almost as predicted. And we are going to be analyzing the market together right now. I'm going to be mentioning some of the things some of the predictions in the past and what has happened right now, especially starting from the USD dollar index. And we're going to look at the dollar index, pounds index, all the eight major currencies. Those are what we're going to focus on. Before I actually just focus or to analyze the just five currencies. But now, based on the request of many traders, I decided to add the Euro, the New Zealand, and then the Swiss francs. So now we are having eight currency pairs that we're going to be correlating together, which is going to be giving us about 12, then about 25, roughly around 20 something currency pair that we're going to be analyzing today. So it's going to be a long ride, and then I'm hoping that I don't, take it or exceed much more than necessary, maybe around 1 hour or thereabout. But I don't want it to get to 1 hour. So I'll try my very best to make it very, very snappy and straight to the point. But my trading system or my trading system, so to say, incorporates the fundamental analysis with the technical analysis and also the sentimental analysis and also the sentimental analysis. So I'm combining both the fundamental analysis with the technical analysis and also sentiment analysis. So we are going to start with fundamental analysis, and then we then go to technical analysis and then see how the two marry each other, and then based on that we then apply our trading decisions. Now, the reason why this trading system is very good is that I don't need to bother about anything anymore. Immediately, any of all those currency is in sync with expectation. I'm going to be getting notification to be true here, and then take the trade. For those that will be enrolling for the training, I will teach you exactly how you're going to be using this trading system in such a way that when you get the trade signals, you just go to your MT4, MT5 platform to take trade immediately. And then I will also explain to you how you are going to be looking for the exact entry point, and then how you are going to be setting your exit and the risk management, the money management part of it. So for those that want to be enrolling for the training should be maybe about 2 weeks from now, roughly 2 weeks from now, or less than 2 weeks from now. Once I'm able to tighten up the agreement with the partner broker, then that would commence immediately. I can't even wait to let you guys know what I have in stock for you. It's going to be very, very interesting session. So that's that for the training, and then let's just go straight away into the market analysis for the week. And so, as usual, we are going to be starting with the index, and then you're going to be starting with the dollar index. And so for the dollar index, if you guys remember, so let me go to the dollar index chart. This is the dollar index chart. So if you guys remember, as at the time that we started predicting what price may do regarding the dollar index, price was somewhere around here. I remember that time, that was around April. And I was telling you that the expectation for USD is bearish, and you expect that price may most likely go bearish. If you want to see this, you need to go to my former market outlook that I did in April, where I make predictions that we should be expecting bearish movement on the USD, and that is what has happened so far. Although it first looked as if it was going to be going bullish, but the strength of the US is not that so strong for it to go up, and then it eventually went down. And I also remember in April precisely, we went to the weekly chart, and I told you guys that we are most likely coming back to retest this support zone, and that you should look out for something that looks exactly like this. That you should out for something that looks exactly like this one. That you should look out for that somewhere around here. And interestingly, that is also exactly what has happened. If you go to the April market outlook, I may even try to post that link in the video section. If we go to the April outlook, as at that time, price have not even started forming this. And I told you to expect something similar that we have here. Now, yeah, and that is what has happened eventually. You can see they are very, very similar. Just look at this and also look at this. Now, we have gotten to the interesting part where there's every tendency that the USD may show some strength. And then when it's going to be showing that strength, it's going to show it in such a way that you may not even know that the bullish trend is starting. And so before we start looking at what to expect here, let's also first look at what price did here before this move eventually happened. So if we have an understanding of how this unfolds to the bullish trend, then we may use that to have a possibility of what price may do right here. Although past performance doesn't guarantee present movement, but then we can use it to have an understanding of what may most likely happen. So what I'm just going to do right now is that I'm going to go to the 4 hours time frame, and I'm going to try to analyze price action at this point. Well, let's go to the 4 hours time frame, and then we'll scroll back into previous price action. So right here, you can see what happened right there. Price actually broke out from that diagonal structure. There was a diagonal structure that formed right here, and then after that, price broke out. And then with this, we are also going to go to the 1 hour time frame to see exactly how price unfold as at that period, and then use it to have an understanding of how to trade this in the coming week. So this is already extending to be more like a training. I'm not doing training right now, but those are some of the things that you would expect in that training session. I'm just using this to explain to you guys. So you will see that we have the inverse shoulder pattern that unfold right there. That means the head, the shoulder level, and then price eventually broke out. And then not only that, right here you will see something that looks like a correction around the trade line before price eventually broke out. And so those are some of the things that you are going to be learning in the course of the training, how you are going to be able to spot this kind of false signals so that you don't fall for it. But then if you are able to get into the trade, from this false signal that we have right here, you'll be able to know that price may most likely be going in a bullish trend for a very long time, and then you are going to be able to ignore all those kind of wrong calls. And so based on what has happened in the time past, we can use that to have an understanding of what to expect in the present time. As you can see, they have very similar structure, and then price have already given us a diagonal structure right here. And there's every tendency that we may assume that this is our first shoulder pattern, and then this is our head, and then this is going to be the second shoulder pattern. Now, that is an assumption. It doesn't mean that price is going to exactly do that. So what it means is that we are going to be having two assumptions. The first is that if the bullish trend is going to start right now, then this level should hold. So that means that immediately market open on Monday, London session, so to say, you should expect that, we should start getting to see some buy momentum from here. But if that doesn't happen and then price eventually started going down and coming all the way to this point, then it means that this structure that you're looking at right here is no longer valid. And then what it means is that we should anticipate to look out for another reversal formation that will happen somewhere around here. So that means this then forms a first shoulder, and then you expect price to come to somewhere around here, retesting this pivot zone, and then coming all the way down here before it eventually start going up. And then when it gets here, you should expect some kind of consolidation around here before, something that looks like this before it eventually breaks out. So for me, I'm going to be expecting a bullish USD. And then the expectation of the bullish USD is subject to the fact that this level holds. So if this level doesn't hold, it means that for some time we need to wait for the strength to build up. We will first experience some weakness before we then start having that strength. But it's best to first assume that this level is going to be holding so that we can look out for that bullish movement. And then when that happens, our trading system right here is going to be letting us know. Our trading system right here is going to be letting us know that the USD is strong or is weak. And then it's going to be telling you all the different currency pairs that are related to the USD for you to take a buy or sell trade. And so that's that for the USD. And so the next one after the USD is the pounds. And so for the pounds, what we should expect from the pounds, I usually like starting from maybe the weekly or the daily time frame. And then on the weekly time frame, we can see on the weekly and the daily time frame, we can see that pounds is actually within a sideways correction pattern, like it's moving sideways. Although this sideways movement is going to be a very big trend in the lower time frame. But what you could see right here is that price is just kind of moving diagonally in this format, and there's every tendency that we are still going to be going for some retest of this high level before we eventually start looking for a down trend from that point. So right now it's looking more like a bullish setup right there. So let's go to the 4 hour time frame. On the 4 hour time frame, you already have a buy signal, and then it's looking more as if price may most likely just do some kind of retest, but eventually we are looking at a bullish continuation structure for that. And so what it means is that we can use that to have an understanding of what to expect on the pounds USD. So let's go to the pounds USD and understand and look at the structure that we have there. So for the pounds USD, which is right here, for the pounds USD, we are in a diagonal structure, as you can see, and it's looking more likely that we are going to be having both pounds and USD, fighting against each other in terms of strength for this week. But I feel that the USD will be stronger than the pounds. But before we even go further, let us look at the fundamental that surround both currency for this week. And so for the fundamentals that we have right now for the key events, I think on Tuesday, if you go to the Forex Factory, you'll be able to see the major news event for this week. And Tuesday, we are having a retail sales. On Wednesday, we are having FOMC decision. And then based on that, is expected to rebound for the retail, is expected to rebound from minus 0.6% to 0.2%, which is indicating resilience in consumer spending. And then for FOMC decision on Wednesday, there's every tendency that Fed would hold rates at 4.5%. And then, but markets expect a hawkish tone with no near-term cuts and possibly fewer cuts in dot plots. And for the press conference, we expect that Powell's stance on inflation stiffness will shape USD direction. So this is most likely going to be that we are expecting some kind of bullish bias on the USD. But it depends on what eventually unfolds on that Wednesday. Is Powell going to be hawkish or dovish in terms of his economic policy on that Wednesday? it is the outcome of that that will determine whether USD is going to be strong or is going to be weak. But because we have already got into a very key support zone, most of all the investors, or major investor or investment traders, so to say, are going to be looking at some bounce around that support. So even if there are going to be some sell around that area, it may not necessarily be that long. We will start seeing some bullish formation coming in, and so most likely, I'm expecting that USD strengthens may most likely continue. And so that is that for the US dollars. I'm expecting bullish bias for that based on the retail sales and also the FMC decision. And then for the pounds right here, I'm expecting a mild bullish. And I'm in sync with what the prediction of the AI has given in this case. And if you look at this, if you look at the index setup also, if you look at the index setup that we have, the index setup right here, you will see that pounds has actually been bullish all this while, but it may most likely continue bullish, but not that kind of strong bullish compared to the USD. If USD eventually, if USD eventually become strong, so we are most likely going to be having a strong versus mild strong currency pairs altogether, but they are not going to be both strong at a time or both weak at a time. One is going to be strong at a time, the other will be weak. One is going to be weak at a time, the other will be strong. And that's why we have this trading system to let us know when the GDP is strong and the USD is weak, or when the USD is weak and the GDP is strong, so that we can then know when to take a buy or sell on this trade. So for me, the summary of this is that if we can see, I've already drawn an horizontal line right here. The horizontal line that I usually draw is it represents where I am looking for entry prices. And so what I'm expecting here is that as at the time that USD is strong, there's every tendency that there's going to be some pushback on the GDP USD. And then by the time GDP is strong and USD is kind of neutral, you will expect that price may most likely go to the upside and possibly up to this point. The best of it all right here is that by the time price gets to this point, we should be looking for a sell. By the time price gets to this point and USD is strong, then you should be looking for a sell opportunity. So for me, I'm looking for a buy around here, and then I'm looking for a sell around here. So that is why you see that in my bias table right here, if we go to USD, you see neutral to sell. So the neutral in the sense that I'm looking for the possibility of price first coming all the way down, for price first coming all the way down here. That's when it's neutral. And then after that, we'll be looking out for a sell formation by the time price gets here. So the best one actually is to look for a sell trade when price gets here. So when it's neutral, price may most likely push up, and then when it is when the GDP is weak, then you have a very strong sell happening around there. So that is that for GDP USD. The next one online is yen. So for yen, let's look at what we have for yen. For yen, I think, we can also have this. That's the long-term structure. But for yen seems to have gotten to some interesting level of resistance, but it hasn't really gotten there very well. There's still some tendency that price may most likely get to this point, where it's most likely going to be forming a double top around this same area that we have right here. So we have price getting to that point. But if you know, if you are following my market outlook, you remember that the yen index right here is inversely priced. So that means we are having LFX JPY instead of JPY LFX. So it means when it is going up, yen is actually weak. So we're expecting some weakness in the yen currency for this week. I'm expecting some weakness in the yen currency for this week. And then if you correlate it with both US dollars and Japanese and pounds, then you should expect that US dollar Japanese yen should buy, and then GDP yen should also buy. But then let's also look at the fundamental that we have that surround the Japanese yen. For the Japanese yen, bearish bias, key events, Bank of Japanese rate decision, which is going to be happening on Tuesday. No change is expected, possibly slightly hawkish tone, but BOJ remains cautious. And the monetary policy statement and press conference will be closely watched for normalization signals. And so the market sentiments, unless BOJ hints at meaningful tightening, JPY remains weak, especially against USD and GDP due to wide yield differentials. And so for this, fundamentally, there's nothing that suggests that yen is supposed to be strong. And then we have some fundamental support for strength for USD and pounds. And so which means that there's every tendency that we are going to be looking out for a buy signal on the US dollar Japanese yen. This is the 4 hours time frame. And so if you look at the rectangle, the box that I've drawn here, I'm actually looking out for the possibility of buying up to that zone. And so if you look at my buyouts right here for US dollar Japanese yen, I'm expecting a buy, and then my entry price is around that point. For GDP yen, which is going to be this, you'll see that price has gotten to a very strong resistance level, but I'm also going to be extending that resistance point to the possibility of price getting to this zone. So it means that we have a strong resistance level that price may most likely break out and come to touch this area, based on the fact that there's every tendency that pounds is stronger than yen, and then we are going to be getting into the trade when pounds become very strong than yen, and then my entry price is going to be here. So if price eventually comes back here, then it's going to be giving me a retest of the level where I'll be looking out for a very strong buy. And if you look at it for GDP yen, I actually have a buy bias for it. Then the next one right here is the euro. So for euro have been crazily strong over the week. Has been crazily strong over the week. I was expecting some pullback at some point, especially around here when I got the signal. I was expecting some pullback at that point, but it just still kept on going on and on before eventually then did that pullback. So let's look at what we have on euro. For euro, price seems to have been going crazily bullish all this while. It has been an uptrend, so to say, but that's just the overall market structure. The worst case scenario that would happen is that price eventually gets to this resistance line that I've drawn here. But before it gets to that point, we should expect some pullback at some point. So on the 4 hours time frame, this is what we have on the 4 hours time frame. I'm expecting some pullback on the euro, most likely. Let me take the retracement level, most likely around the 38 to 50%. So I'm just going to take out every other one and leave the 38 to 50% there. Okay, so which means that we're expecting that price may most likely retrace up to this point, even if it wants to continue going bullish. This is the retracement level that we expect price to get to. And so fundamentally, let us look at what we have on euro. Yeah, so euro neutral to slightly bearish because I've been bullish all this while. So the neutral in terms of just some pullback, and then if the other currencies are and the fundamental that supports other currencies is quite strong, it may actually be bearish. So there's no major Eurozone economic release or ECB decision this week, and markets still digest recent ECB rate cuts and watching data for signs for signal for further loosening. So for the sentiment, the divergence between ECB, which was dovish, and Fed, which was hawkish, keep Euro USD under pressure. With little new data, Euro may drift lower versus USD and GDP. And so fundamentally, nothing really suggests that Euro is going to be strong immediately, but it may be strong later on. I'm just expecting some pullback around this point before price eventually go up. But the overall trend right there is bullish. Just like I said, the overall trend is bullish. So I'm just going to make this one only appear on the 4 hours time frame. Okay. So we're expecting that price may come back to retest this monthly resistance and weekly resistance level, after which we should be looking out for the continuation of the bullish trend. So this is a counter trend against the euro. It's just a pullback, but the overall trend is bullish. So with that, we can look at what to expect in Euro USD, GDP USD, and Euro JPY. So let's go to Euro USD. For Euro USD, this is what we have right here. For Euro USD, it's actually around a very strong resistance area. And there's every tendency that it's going to be pulling back up to maybe somewhere around this point. There's every tendency that it's going to be pulling back somewhere around that point, somewhere around here. So, but I don't usually have two lines drawn because this line represents my entry price, which automatically is sent to the Excel. So for me, I'm expecting that price may most likely retest this zone if USD is very, very strong. By the time USD is very, very strong, price may most likely retest this zone. So I'm expecting something like this. And then after that, going all the way up, back up. Going all the way back up. So for me, Euro USD is going to be sell. And then after that, we should look out for a buy. Sell, then after that, we should look out for a buy. So that is why you see that I first have sell here, but after some time, by the time the pullback is done, and then USD is also kind of pausing, then we can look out for the bullish continuation. For Euro JPY2, buy, and then GDP, Euro JPY, Euro USD, Euro JPY, and Euro GBP, sell, buy. So let's go to Euro JPY. For Euro JPY, this is what we have from the weekly time frame, and then price is just somewhere around a very small resistance, more like a sideways correction pattern, so to say. I think I've drawn it before. Yeah. So price got to a resistance area, and then there's every tendency that there's going to be some pullback around this point. So Euro JPY is not something that you want to trade for now. The reason is because yen is not that so strong in terms of fundamental. There's nothing that may really drive yen further. And then euro seems to be pulling back. And so you may just have some kind of sideways correction, so to say. But if I'm going to be choosing what to do for this pair, I think that I will be looking for a buy. I will be looking for a buy around here. And then by the time price breakouts, more like a fake out structure around here, by the time price breakouts to this point, where there's going to be some stop hunt area, then I can look for a sell at that point. So my trade bias for Euro JPY is buy, and then later on, we are going to be looking for a sell. And then the next one after Euro JPY is Euro GBP. So let's go to Euro GBP and see what we have there. Euro GBP right here, and starting from the weekly time frame. From the weekly time frame, nothing really seems surprising here. Nothing really seems surprising. But let's go to the daily time frame. From the daily time frame, I think I would like to draw this right here, where price have retested, and if the fundamental that supports the pounds is stronger than euro, then it means that you should be expecting some sell for this trade. So for the sell that we most likely be having, I feel that price should get to this point. Then after that, we can then look out for a sell that may most likely take us to this area. So for me, I'm looking for, let me clear out this. So for me, I'm looking for a buy around this point, and then after that, I'm looking out for a sell somewhere around this point. So something like this, just coming deep down. By the time pound is stronger than euro, and then after euro start gaining strength, you should have that. So the next one that we're going to be looking at is CAD. Next one we're going to be looking at is CAD. So for CAD seems to be the strongest of them all. I think last week. Let me check yes, CAD was very, very strong. Yen was weak, Swiss franc was weak, and all that. The other ones were just slightly neutral towards the end of Friday. But CAD was relatively strong. So the overall trade direction for this is that there's every tendency that price may come and test this point at some point, come and test this zone at some point. But in the interim, it's somewhere around here, and we may expect some breakouts after some time up to this point. So with that, on the 4 hours time frame, we seem to be in a diagonal structure right here. And then most of the time when you have something like this, you may expect some pullback first before price eventually becomes strong. So price, just dancing around here at some point, then later on coming all the way down to this point, then going all the way back up. So that area. So for me, I feel that CAD should most likely be weak to some extent in this coming week. That CAD may most likely be weak. That is subject to the fact that it gets to this point and doesn't break above it. But if it gets to this point and then it starts moving sideways, so let me show you the formation, the expected formation. The first one is that you can have some kind of candles around here, rejection candles around here that suggest that area is being rejected, in which case you should expect the weakness from CAD. But if price gets to this point and then it starts, moving sideways in this manner, then it means that we are not going to be getting all the way to this point anymore. No, we should be looking out for that breakout that will take us there. But all the way before that even happened, there's every tendency that there will be a slowdown around here. So I'm expecting some weakness on CAD. Fundamentally speaking, let's look at what we have on CAD. I think that should be down. CAD. Yes, CAD. So no major economic data scheduled this week. CAD may take direction from oil prices and USD strength. So market sentiment. Recent rate cut by Bank of Canada and weak housing sector limits upside. However, if oil remains strong, CAD could stabilize. Expect rate-bound trading, which was what I just explained to you guys. There may be some rate-bound trading around here, or if US oil is very, very strong, then it can actually go up. But if the US oil is going to be doing some pullback around here, if the US oil is going to be weak at some point, then you may expect that pullback around here. So let's quickly go to the US oil and see what we have under that structure. So this is the US oil, and then we seems to be, okay, I think this is the 15 minutes time frame. So let's go to the hour time frame right here, especially from the daily time frame. So from the daily time frame, price seems to have rejected around this resistance area, but I don't know whether it's going to still push up further to this point. So even if it's going to push up further to this point, remember this is the daily time frame. There are going to be much more candles that will form before you get to that point. So for the 1 hour time frame, let's go to the 1 hour time frame so that we see price action clearly. For the 1 hour time frame, price seems to, so the overall trend for this is bullish, so to say. That's why you have it that CAD was very, very strong. When this happened, CAD was very, very strong. And so the overall is bullish, but then we are having some kind of sideways correction pattern around this zone. And so that was why I decided to go to the 15 minutes time frame to be able to see the price action clearly. So what this means is that, and there's every tendency that we may first come here, price gets here, and then do some kind of pullback all the way down. So if this is going to be happening, then you should expect weakness on CAD. However, if price gets to this point, instead of coming all the way down here, it didn't come down and then get to this point and then starts, consolidating, then it means that we are going to be testing the second high around here. And so we'll see how it unfolds. So for now, CAD seems to be neutral to bearish. And so based on that, we should look at what to expect on US dollar CAD. So for US dollar CAD, if US dollar become very strong, then it means that we should be looking out for a buy on the US dollar CAD. So that's why I have it right here, my entry point around here. So it's a descending triangle around here, becoming very, very squeezed, and then we should expect that price may most likely break out, from that structure. Once you have something like this forming, you should expect that breakout from that structure. So for me, US dollar CAD, I'm looking for a buy signal around there for US dollar CAD. Looking for a buy signal that is going to be taking us all the way up to possibly around this point. So US dollar CAD buy. Then the next one is GDP CAD. So let's look at GDP CAD. Yeah, for GDP CAD too, know that the fundamental that surrounds GDP may most likely be stronger than that for the CAD. But that is why I have my entry line somehow drawn around this point, and which is to the fact that there's every tendency that price may most likely first come all the way to this point before it eventually go up. But for me, I'm looking for a buy setup on the GDP CAD. So for GDP CAD too, I'm looking for a buy setup. So if you look at US dollar CAD buy, GDP CAD buy. And then the next one is CAD yen. So for CAD yen, let's look at what we have on CAD yen. For CAD yen, here's what we have on CAD yen from the weekly time frame to the daily time frame, right here. So there seems to be a slight resistance level. Price seems to be at around a resistance area around that point. But unfortunately, both CAD and yen doesn't have any strong fundamental that may support them, except US oil becomes very, very strong, in which case this may break out. But for me, I'm staying out of this. I'm staying out of it completely. But if you ask me, I may most likely want to take a sell. I may most likely want to take a sell around here. That means when there's a fake out, when price just comes to somewhere around here, and then I get the signal, sell signal around here, I may most likely take that sell. But that sell may just be for a little time. The sell may just be for a little time based on what I can see right here. The sell may just be for a little time. So if you are going to be taking a sell, your sell may most likely just be, you may just want to take your, what do you call it? You may just want to take your targets around here. If you are taking a sell at that point, by taking a sell around here, you want to take your target around there, because they both don't have a long-term setup for fundamentally speaking. The next one right there is EuroCAD. So let's look at EuroCAD. For EuroCAD, right here, this is the daily time frame for EuroCAD. This doesn't look kind of straight to trade at all. I will just draw this. Maybe looking at that, I'll just draw this. But for me, I'm not really looking at trading this pair at all. But if I am to have an opportunity to do anything, I'll be looking at a buy. And if that buy can be here, that's a very good. But if I start seeing some rejections or some bullish momentum from around here, then I'll be doing that. But, fundamentally speaking, Euro seems to have much more potential to the upside, much more potential fundamentally than CAD. So by the time we have CAD weakness, you may have this, moving up. So we should be looking for a buy setup. I hope that's what I have there. Yeah, Euro CAD buy. So the next one that we have right here is Swiss francs. So for Swiss francs, starting from the weekly time frame and a diagonal structure, and then doing some kind of pullback. And that pullback, I don't know to what extent that pullback may be, but it's just looking somewhat exactly like the Euro CAD that we just analyzed. And so fundamentally speaking, I'm not sure there's any fundamental that backs any strength for Swiss francs at this period. I am not sure about that. So I think that we should most likely have some weakness on the Swiss francs. Then after that, we can start looking out for a buy setup. But for now, all indication is looking most likely for a weakness on Swiss francs. So let's look at what we have on the USD Swiss, which is most likely going to be a buy setup because US dollar may be strong. Pounds also buy setup may be strong. And then Swiss yen, maybe rate bound. And then Euros chef, I don't trade that. CAD chef, I don't trade that. So let's look at US dollar Swiss. For US dollar Swiss, which is this price is currently at a double bottom, and then it gave us a diagonal, more like the dollar index chart that we have been looking at. And then we seem to have an interesting area right here, and then price most likely are from the what do you call it? The second double bottom, so to say, and then it may still come to retest it. If it comes to that level, then it's even going to be very, very good. We can start looking out for our buy setup around there. So that means if price retests that area, then it's good. But if it doesn't retest it, what you want to do is to look for a buy setup. For me, I would just be looking for a buy setup on this pair, not sell. So for me, the US dollar Swiss most likely buy, and then pound Swiss too, most likely going to be a buy. So let's look at the structure under the pound Swiss right here. So for pound Swiss from the daily time frame, you can see there is a rejection around here. Price rejected this point, and then now it is here. And then if we look at the trade setup, you can see we are in something that looks like a diagonal structure, a triangle, so to say, not a diagonal structure, a triangle formation where price may most likely do these three wave correction. And so with that, we should expect bullish movement on the Swiss francs, and the price level right here is most likely going to be here. And so if price come back to retest this point, is very good for us. That's a very good place to buy. But if price doesn't come back to that place, we should most likely take the entry at the current market price that may have a TP around this point. TP around that point. Then later on, we can start looking for a new setup that will most likely take us to this area. So the next one right there is the Swiss yen. For Swiss yen, which is going to be this, let's look at what we have on the higher time frame, more like the card yen also, at an interim, so to say, an interim resistance point that may most likely break out. So we may have a retest of this point where price will initially break out later on. But fundamentally speaking, yen is not that going to be strong. But at some point, if Swiss francs, Swiss francs also doesn't have any fundamental for this week that may most likely make it strong. But if at some point yen becomes stronger than Swiss, then you have this sell set up. But for me, I'm staying out of this pair all completely because both fundamentally, both of them doesn't, have anything that may drive them. But if I have any opportunity at all, I'll be looking for a sell opportunity, much more sell opportunity than a buy setup. So maybe somewhere around here, I should be looking out for a sell setup there. I'm sure that's what I may most likely have for Swiss yen. Yeah, sell setup right there. Then the next one, which is going to be, I don't trade Euro Swiss, I don't trade CAD Swiss. Is the Aussie. So for this one, let's look at what we have on the weekly time frame. Price bounced off. On the daily time frame, most likely price may come back to retest this zone. On the 4 hours time frame, we have momentum pushing downwards right here. And so what we most likely get to see is that, so that's why this is good. So that's why I have the pivot levels. So what we may most likely get to see is that if price come back to this point by mistake, by any chance or anything, if price come back to this point, we should be looking out for a very, very weak odd. That means if oil just becomes strong at some point, we should not fall for that strength. We actually should be looking out for a sell signal that will take us all the way down to this area. So for me, I'm looking at a weak odd. And so that means that on Australian USD, I should be looking for a sell opportunity, which is going to be here. Let's look at it on the daily time frame. Price tends to reject this resistance zone, and then it's currently here. By the time USD is very, very strong, we should expect a sell on this pair. But if USD becomes weak, everything is still speculation. We really cannot say exactly what's going to be happening. But if USD becomes very weak, then we should expect a retest of this area right here, the retest of this area, which is going to be very good. By the time price come here, then it's going to be very good for us to look for a sell opportunity. But if USD becomes strong immediately, then you should be looking out for something that may most likely do this and then pull back up and then flush all the way down to that point. But for me, I'm looking for a sell opportunity on this pair. So that's why you may most likely see that AUD USD is sell. And then for GDP AUD is most likely going to be a buy. Price got to this high and then is moving sideways. There's every tendency that it will come here at some point. But because of the fundamental that may most likely back pounds up much more than the odd, they may have price coming all the way down to this area. So if that happens, then it's going to be good. And then after that, we can look for a sell that will take us all the way down to that point, giving us this harmonic pattern formation. Giving us that harmonic pattern formation. But for now, let's take it one step at a time. If pounds becomes strong and oil becomes weak, we'll be buying, and then when price gets here and the fundamental that backs pounds up is very weak, we should be looking for a sell setup. So I'm just going to draw this so that I don't forget this. And then after that, this. Then the next one is going to be AJ, Australian Japanese yen. For Australian Japanese yen, yen, fundamentally speaking, doesn't have any strong strength backing it up. But there's every tendency that odd may be strong at some points or even stronger than the yen, which is why I have my entry around here. And then I'm looking for a buy setup all the way to this point. So most likely, odd may most likely not be as weak as expected as I'm thinking of it. So there's every tendency that at some point, odd may have some strength. So, but for me, for AJ, I'm looking for a buy setup. So I'm going to be changing this to a buy setup. The reason why I put that sell, most likely maybe because I'm expecting price to come all the way to this point. Well, there's every possibility. So there are two alternatives. There are two possibilities right here. The first one is that if price breaks below this point, if it breaks below this point, then buyer switch to sell. But if this level holds, then I'm looking for a buy setup. So I think I'll prefer buy for this. I'll prefer buy. So for Australian Japanese yen, I'll prefer a buy. Okay, I think I understand what happened. So this is my own trades. Yes, this is my own trade bias. I've put in a buy here, but the AI right there has put in a sell. But for me, I'll be going for a buy. So I'm going to change this sell to buy. So what I did right here is that I tried to cover up what the AI has given, and then I did my own trade bias right here. But the one that is being referenced is the one that AI has done. So most of all the bias that I've done are also exactly the same thing that the AI has done. And so that's why you can see that they have been the same all this while, except for this when I now go to the AJ. So for that AJ, I think I'll prefer it to buy up. So B17 in KL, 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 KL. Okay. So for me, for AJ, I'll actually be looking for a buy if this level holds, and then if the price level doesn't hold, then the buy most likely will be somewhere around here. The buy will be most likely somewhere around here. Okay, the next one right there is Euro AUD. So let's go to Euro AUD. Euro AUD, Euro AUD, which is this. So for Euro AUD, Euro has been strong all this way. That's why you have most of them pulling up, as you can see. But I'm not sure that the move to the upside for Euro AUD is done. So for Euro AUD, I'm actually looking for a buy setup. I'm looking for a buy setup right here. So for Euro AUD, if I get to see buy, I'll be happy. That means when Euro becomes strong and all becomes weak. So we most likely first get some pullback around here. And then after that, we are getting to this point. So let's look at what we have there for Euro AUD. For Euro AUD buy, I think also me too, I have a buy for each Euro AUD. So that's why we have buy. Then the next one is odd card. For odd card, what do we have there? Odd card, I'm looking for a buy setup on odd card. My buy level somewhere around here. And so that's why I'm saying that odd may most likely be having some bullish and bearish at some point. But for me, I am looking for a buy setup on odd card. The next one right there is okay, I don't trade um, odd chef. I don't trade odd chef. So the last currency is New Zealand. So for New Zealand, okay, I didn't even check the fundamental for odd. For odd, key event expected to slow sharply, which may signal a weakening economy. Unemployment rates stable at 4.1. So that's why it is kind of mixed to slow, and then unemployment rates stable at 4.1. It's supposed to be bearish, so to say, but it's mixed, not bearish. It's kind of mixed. But the fundamental has given us a bearish bias, so to say. But for me, I'm seeing a mixed Australia where it's going to be strong at some point and most likely being weak later on. So, but the sentiment here is that weaker job growth adds pressure for future rate cuts combined with USD strength. So USD may be stronger than odd, and which put downward pressure on odd. But it depends on if US is actually strong. If US is not as strong as expected, odd may most likely show some bullish movement. And then for New Zealand, kind of neutral. On Wednesday night, we're expecting GDP Q over Q. That is quarter rate, and then it's expected at 0.7%, which is steady growth. But the market sentiment is no RBNZ decision this week. If GDP surprises, New Zealand could react. Otherwise, New Zealand may follow AUD and global sentiment. So then let me read the last one so that we don't come back here. For Swiss francs, I think we've even checked this. For Swiss francs, we're expecting a bearish. There's no, what do you call it? There's no surprises or no fundamental that backs up strength for the Swiss franc. So for the New Zealand, we're expecting neutral, but I'm expecting much more, I'm expecting much more bearish than just neutral. So if we go to the technical analysis of the pair, on the 4 hour time frame, we have, price, New Zealand flushing all the way down up to that point. And then there's every tendency that it's going to be getting to this point where it's going to be, having some kind of support zone. So when it gets there, that's when we'll now know whether it's going to be strong or not. But for now, I'm expecting a bearish New Zealand. And so based on that, if we go to New Zealand USD, you should expect bullish movement. Bearish movement, since we're expecting that USD may be strong. But if USD is not strong immediately, it may first have some pullback, maybe for some stop hunt activity first, before you eventually have that sell coming all the way down. But for me, I'm expecting a sell at that zone. So New Zealand USD should be sell. New Zealand USD should be sell. Then the next one is GDP New Zealand. For GDP New Zealand, where do we have it? For GDP New Zealand, I'm expecting strength. I'm expecting some strength for this, and they're most likely getting all the way down, all the way up to that point. So if price, reject this point, then I will be looking for a buy setup. But if it doesn't, that means that we should be looking for a buy setup somewhere around this zone. If it doesn't, then it means that we should be looking for a buy setup around here, around this point. So for me, GDP New Zealand should be buy. Then the next one, which is going to be New Zealand JPY, I don't trade it. Euro New Zealand. Yes, Euro New Zealand. For Euro New Zealand right here, I'm not sure we have completed the move to the upside. And then there's every tendency that the fundamental that support euro is stronger than New Zealand. But you look at it, you see that the range for this pair is very, very tight. That means most of all the movements is just here. So for me, I am staying out of it. But if I'm going to be choosing which to go with, I'll be much more interested in a buy. If I get a buy around here, I'll be much more interested in that. So most likely, maybe price first coming all the way here and then flushing down, or coming all the way here and then flushing up. But for me, I'm not trading Euro New Zealand at all. I'm not trading it. So this is the one I prefer. The one I prefer is, first pulling back, then going up. So for me, I am not interested in that. The next one is Euro New Zealand and New Zealand card. I don't trade New Zealand card. I don't trade New Zealand streets. I don't trade odd New Zealand. Okay. I think the only one that remains right here is the US 30. Okay, the gold. So we are done with all the currency pairs. The only one that remains right here is the gold, the US 30, and the Nasdaq. I just recently added those ones for those that are trading indices. So for the gold, I am going to be interested in a sell setup for gold. A sell setup for gold if US dollar becomes strong. So I feel that US dollar may not first immediately be strong, and so you may first have price pushing up all the way. So come and retest this initial high, and then after that we should be looking for a sell. So for me, the sell is most likely going to be anything around this point. I'll be looking for that sell opportunity. So we may have some retracement here, or price first, going for some kind of stop hunt before it eventually then sell off. So care should be taken. It's only when US dollar is very, very strong that we are going to be selling gold. Otherwise, we are going to be leaving it out. So on our fundamental trading system, on our trading system, currency strength trading system, by the time USD is ranked 1 or 2, currently right now is 3, by the time it's ranked maybe 1 or 2, then you should be looking for a sell signal on gold. And then for US dollar 30, for US 30, I'm actually looking for a sell when US dollar is strong. I'm looking for a sell. But if you look at the structure right here, you see that price is in a very strong resistance level, and then it pushed back all the way to this point. I'm expecting price to get to somewhere around here at the very minimum. So which means that price may most likely get to this point, and then before we now start looking for anything buy. So for me, I'll be looking forward to selling US dollar 30 around here, and then having my TP somewhere around here. Having the TP somewhere around here, where we'll decide whether we want to buy it or not. And then for US tech, so let me see if that's what I even have there. US tech, US dollar 30 sell, and then Nasdaq, I'm looking for a buy on Nasdaq. The reason why I'm looking for buy on Nasdaq is because the price doesn't seem to have, really fully tested the resistance point right there. It's just doing some kind of pullback, and so if I get a buy opportunity here, let me go to the 1 hour time frame. So if I get a buy opportunity around here, I'll be very, very interested in that. But if that doesn't happen, then it means that we should be looking for a buy setup somewhere around here, where price may most likely have first gotten here, where price may most likely first pull back here before it eventually starts going up. But altogether, I've already built the trade signal there that will alert me when the condition to buy Nasdaq is confirmed. So yeah, when it is confirmed, it's going to let me know, and then I will be able to take the trade. So that is that for this week. We have been able to look at how many pairs right now. We have been able to look at about 25 different currency pairs, 25 instruments. So I'll see you guys next week. Hopefully, if I have the opportunity to, I'll do another market analysis and post. And then I'm also working towards getting started for the training. For those of you that are interested, um, the training is going to be free. For those that will be working with, that will be registering and funding and trading with a partner broker, and I'll communicate that to you very, very soon. So you do have a very lovely trading week. My name is Forex Grandmaster, and bye for now.